controlling your breathing right now. Feel the power of you enjoying your greatest gift right now. That's you. That's your presence. That's your greatest power. Your power to determine to stay in the present, in the now, and be your true great being that you are. No matter what. In this present moment, everything is here you need right now. So let's see ourselves today doing the best we can in the gym of life. Here we are again. Controlling our minds. Controlling our breathing. One great thought at a time. One great breath at a time. So see yourself doing your best on all the exercises we do today together, here and now. That's your determination, your greatest power, power that's the same in you and every human being on the planet.
La vida me empezó a cambiar la noche que te conocí. Tenía poco que perder y la cosa sigue así. Yo con mis sostén a rayas y mi pelo a medio hacer. Pensaste todavía es un niño, pero ¿qué le voy a hacer? Es lo que andaba buscando, el doctor recomendando. Creí que estaba soñando, oh, oh, de que me andaba quejando. No sé qué estaba pensando. Voy pa'l cielo y voy pateando. Oh, oh, me enamoré, me enamoré. Lo vi solito y me lancé. Me enamoré, me enamoré. Mira qué cosa bonita, qué boca más redondita. Me gusta esa barbita. Y bailé hasta que me cansé, hasta que me cansé. Bailé y me enamoré. Nos enamoramos, un mojito, dos mojitos. Mira qué ojitos bonitos. Me quedo otro ratito. Contigo yo tendría 10 hijos. Empecemos por un par. Solamente te lo digo por si quieres practicar. Lo único que estoy diciendo, vayámonos conociendo. Es lo que está proponiendo. Oh, oh, nos vamos entusiasmando. Todo nos va resultando. Qué bien lo estamos pasando. Oh, oh, me enamoré, me enamoré. Lo vi solito y me lancé. Me enamoré, me enamoramos. Mira qué cosa bonita, qué boca más redondita. Me gusta esa barbita. Y bailé hasta que me cansé, hasta que me cansé. Bailé, me enamoré. Nos enamoramos, un mojito, dos mojitos. Mira qué ojitos bonitos. Me quedo otro ratito. Nunca creí que fuera así. ¿Cómo te fijarías en mí? Toda la noche lo pensé. Este pa' mí o pa' más nadie. 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 Me enamoré, me enamoré. Lo vi solito y me lancé. Me enamoré, me enamoré. ojitos, mira qué ojitos bonitos, me quedo otro ratito. Nunca creí que fuera así, cómo te fijarías en mí. Toda la noche lo pensé, pa' mí o pa' más nadie, pa' mí o pa' más nadie, pa' mí o pa' más nadie, pa' mí o pa' más nadie.
Olha o Felipe Bastos! Gol do esporte!
Rasmussen lyfter upp och tog
Good morning, guys. I remember hearing Tony Robbins in one of his videos a long time ago say that there are 6 psychological needs, human needs, that we all have. And the one that stood out for me was the one where he talks about this need for certainty, the need of knowing that everything is going to be okay. So we all have that. And I believe that one of the things that can improve our lives immensely is understanding some of the stresses, anxieties, worries, doubts, fears that lead to, in some cases, addictions to food, sugar, you name it, anything. We can become addicted to anything. But there's a great power in that addiction. And what it is I believe, is that we have a certainty. We know that if we do that thing, we're going to feel a certain joy, a pleasure. Well, I'm telling you that the greatest certainty we have is that we can use determination and that power and channel it to do something great. Have a great day, everybody.
Today, I'm going to talk about something that I am describing in my next book. It is this idea of a linear journey of becoming. It is this idea of this progression that's going to move us from the safe harbor of comfort and familiarity that we find ourselves anchored to, through a ravine of fear, into a world of learning that ultimately affords us growth. So we're going to start with this idea of your safe harbor, or your comfort zone. So as we jump into the conversation today, I want to start with agreeing up front, if you will indulge me, that growth is a requirement to being fulfilled. As in, I do not believe that you can be fulfilled if you are not growing. And I will also posit that I believe that each of us, every single one of you that is listening, is either growing or dying, right? You cannot be in the middle. You are either growing or dying. And that if you want to be fulfilled, you have to be growing, because you cannot be fulfilled in a dying state. All right, stay with me for a second. But in order to grow, it is something that exclusively comes at the expense of comfort, right? Comfort is a casualty of growth. Comfort is a casualty of growth, which is a long way of saying that if you want to feel something deeper, if you are here today wondering, how might I feel more fulfilled? Well, then you're going to have to start by challenging your relationship with comfort, right? Like I said, the decision to leave your safe harbor for a lighthouse that might sit on the opposite shore, it is something that in many ways is linear. It requires that you move through these distinct environments in sequential order. I'm going to hold up a piece of paper. I don't know if you can see this forwards or backwards, so I printed it both ways. There is a lighthouse, and under the lighthouse it says the word safe harbor. But I'm going to describe this progression of going through your safe harbor, through a pool of fear, into a sea of learning, to ultimately reach an ocean of growth. Okay? It is a linear thing, and the broader framework of this entire conversation is built with this eye to this reality that we have to think about our relationship to each of these things if we're going to effectively navigate from safe harbor to growth, right? Why do so many of us find ourselves living with things we are familiar with? Why is comfort so attractive, right? That's a place we have to start. Clinging to comfort is a byproduct, I will argue, of fear. Fear of the unknown, a disbelief that we might have in our ability to acquire new skills, the way that we've framed the risks associated with failure, the illusion that we may hold to us having some kind of control, the way that we think playing it safe will likely have certain things turn out. But as you've already heard from so many Growth Day teachers, there are dangers in comfort, right? There are trade-offs that come in choosing to stay inside of the suffering that you may already know and be familiar with. And so often we choose, and I'm one of these people, I chose to stay in suffering that I knew because it was more predictable than the fear of having to try and do something new. But now that I'm doing something new, even though it's scary, I can tell you there is riches in having pushed myself into that fear. I love John Maxwell. I don't know if you guys know John Maxwell, but he said the distance between where you stand now and where you want to be is measured by the changes that you're willing to make in your life. Okay? The distance between where you are and where you want to be is measured by the changes that you're willing to make. Change comes at the expense of comfort, right? And so more than anything, as we have this conversation today, my hope in any of this is to equip you with the courage to make change, to challenge these relationships so that you might become open to the possibility of the good that can come, the growth that can come in redefining some of those relationships. I want you to connect to the courage and confidence that already lives inside of you to take one step and then another away from this place that you've known for all the opportunity to unleash the purpose and meaning that you deserve in this life. All right. One of the reasons I will argue also that we tend to cling to comfort and the relationship is so crazy, it's because of something of a belief that we have that the things that have existed or that currently exist will exist in perpetuity. Right? I think that's one of the biggest dangers of the safe harbor, right? Thinking that the things that we've come to know can be counted on. The pieces of identity or status, security, familiarity, more that live inside of like employment status or a relationship or a certain state of health you might be in or a state of life that you're experiencing that are all there, right? They're all there until what? Until a pandemic comes along, until downsizing happens, until you get a phone call from a doctor with a diagnosis, until divorce, until kids head off to college and it changes who you are to them and who you are on this planet, right? So it might sound a little bit scary, but we end up actually being in much better shape to meet the challenges of the future if we give up the illusion that the harbor is safe in and of itself in the first place, right? Like part of what I hope that you leave the conversation with is just a touch more courage, a touch more resolve to consider the call that exists beyond your safe harbor. Even though heeding that call will often come at the expense of comfort, even though it requires you to reframe this relationship that you have with the familiar, you will inevitably have to burn the altar of what you know for the invitation of something new. And yep, that can be scary. But in this debate over taking the chances required to unlock the fulfillment that you desire, as you weigh these pros and cons of staying where you are because you believe that you know what this version of your life holds, what it unfolds, that control is an illusion. I am speaking from personal experience. This control does not really exist. Did anyone experience 2020 with me? This control did not really exist, right? So like believing that you know how this life unfolds is actually taking a passive posture in reaction. You are choosing to react to the way that life comes at you instead of a proactive approach to engineering the kind of life that you'd hope for in fulfillment, right? So the closest thing that we can actually get to in being in control is when we end up being the person who's moving forward to actively create our destiny rather than waiting for it to be handed to us, right? Manufacturing our next moves instead of having to react to a move that is made to us. It is not a question of whether a move will be made to you or not. You are not going to win the no moves coming your way lottery. It don't exist. So you get to choose. Do you want to actively take a posture of engineering an outcome that you'd hope for, or react to one that you don't expect or want?
Καθυστερήσεων εκτέλεση ο Αραούχο, πέρασε πάνω στο δεύτερο δοκάρι, λάθος στο Τρόπουλος. Εκπληκτικό γκολ! Εκπληκτικό γκολ από τον Λάζαρο. Μια ανάποδο ψαλίδι.
Salah.
Good morning, guys. Top 10 rules for success today. Robert Kiyosaki, in his last page, identifies his 10 rules for success, and the one that stands out for me today is number 1. Experience makes you smarter. And then he goes on to talk about good debt versus bad debt and the value of education and understanding how to use it. You see, most of us view debt as a bad thing. We don't want to be in debt. We want to know that we are in the green column, so to speak, that we're moving forward, we're progressing, that we don't owe anything, we're not falling behind. But Robert Kiyosaki shares with us his wisdom of changing our mindset and changing the way we look at that, because he gives his experience when he first, or when he was starting out, he bought property, he bought commercial buildings, and he put nothing down, and he had debt, but every month that money would grow because he invested in something that was going to make his money grow. I hope this helps everyone. Have a great day.
I'll never forget coming out of therapy, and this guy was like, Terry, you have to learn how to tell people no, because I was a pleaser. And so I remember being at dinner and people would be like, can I get an autograph? I'm like, yeah. And I would sign autographs for an hour with my family there. And my wife was like, Terry, we're here. We can't even enjoy it. I said, yeah, but these are my fans. These are the people that pay our bills. And then she's like, you can't tell them no just for an hour? I remember being in counseling, and the counselor asked me, she said, what if a director told you to do something you didn't want to do? I said, well, I have to do it. She said, no, you don't. I said, yes, I do. She said, no, you don't, Terry. I said, well, I'm an actor. She said, yeah, but you don't have to do everything the director tells you to do. I said, yes, I do, because I'm an actor. And she's like, no, you don't. She said, Terry, you don't have to do that. I said, but I would lose my job. And she said, well, get another job. I said, but I'm an actor. And she said, Terry, you don't have to do what you don't want to do.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I struggled to believe in myself. I quit on my business partner. And the thing that saved me was watching the successful stories of entrepreneurs. They gave me the inspiration to keep going, as well as the strategies of what to do. And quite honestly, I still need their stories and motivation today as well. So today, let's live your best believed life and learn how you can take control of your life. Enjoy.
I didn't know. Especially since I was such a pleaser, it was one of them things, well, yeah. And I'll never forget, this guy came up to me, he said, hey man, can I get an autograph? And I was going to do it. I was going to practice. I said, and I looked at him, I said, no. And he said, come on, man. I said, no. And I went crazy. And the guy was like, dude, relax, man. And I was like shaking. It was the first time I was exercising this no. And I was shaking. I got back in the car and I said, you guys, I thought I was going crazy. But what I was doing was dissecting and piecing and understanding who I was and what made me tick. And it's so thorough, and it got so thorough to the point where I was like, why do I feel angry if someone says that? Or why am I insulted? Why? Is it me or is it them? And see, and once I started asking these questions, I could let it go. And I was like, oh man, that's nothing to do with me. But whereas before it was just, you insulted me. You know how many, I can't count to you how many family gatherings I ruined, how many, theme park outings I've crushed, people in tears. I'm going back to the rule. Because everything had to be perfect. Everything had to be the way it's supposed to be, and you didn't do it the way I wanted. It was my way or the highway.
Rule number 2 is take personal responsibility with Tom Bilyeu.
What is it you've learned about why personal responsibility is, and I've seen it on this podcast, if I'm going to be counseled for anything, it's probably, there's a number of things, but my pursuit of being a champion for personal responsibility is up there. Mo Gaudat sat here and said when he published his book, he open sources it to 500 people, and he says he loses about, I think it was 10% of people, they just click off the document when they get to the personal responsibility part. They just seem to be inherently offended by it. Why? Where is the truth?
Yeah.
What can be done?
Okay, so this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is, I just know people are gonna just really love this section. But I can't help myself. I would lose respect for myself if I didn't say this stuff. I could see myself one day not being on camera anymore. I can't ever see myself saying something that I don't believe to be true. So here it goes. You have to have a belief system that is both true and optimistic. Personal responsibility is true and wildly optimistic. And it is people's belief system and the value system that they cobble together over a lifetime that will lead them to reject that. And all I can say is reject it at your own peril for the following reason. Personal responsibility is about remembering you can do something and change. And I can sum up personal responsibility in a single quote by Kobe Bryant. Boos don't block dunks. That's personal responsibility. You can get so good at something that no matter how much people hate you, the best athletes in the world were paid millions of dollars and trained to stop Kobe Bryant from scoring. And yet he scored 81 points in a single game. So you can get so good no matter how much people hate you, no matter how much they're training and trying to defeat you, they can't. And that is the most exciting thing in the world to me. That, wait, you're saying that I can get so good at something that at least the vast majority of humanity can't stop me? There will always, of course, unfortunately, I don't yet believe that I am Kobe Bryant in anything that I care about. So, but that I can get better than the vast majority of humanity at something by dedicating my time and energy to that thing. That is so cool. That is so liberating. It's changed my life. It's given me hope. It got me up off the floor. In every possible way, it has changed my life. It is the thing that I rely on when I'm feeling my most anxious. I'm like, I can get better at this. Oh, word. And then I remember, that's right. Like if I put time and energy into this, I can get better. So it's okay if I'm actually not good at this. If people are coming after me and saying, you're stupid, you're seeing this wrong. I'm like, maybe I really am. Like maybe there's really something to learn here. Even with personal responsibility. If somebody shows me that taking personal responsibility for my life is worse than if I didn't, I would change. But in every metric I have ever encountered, and including all the people that I've introduced this idea to that have then gone on to do something with it, it has made every single one of their lives better to a person without exception. And so I'm just like, I want people to win so badly. I'm wired to love other people winning almost as much as I love winning myself. When I was 6, I threw an Easter egg contest so that my sister would find more eggs than I did because I knew it meant more to her. And I just was so happy to see her win. So like, that is innate. I didn't do anything to earn that. I'm not an extra nice person. Just for whatever reason, I really enjoy seeing other people win. And so, dude, when I'm giving these ideas, I'm like, it will help you. It will help you. Like I'm already doing it. My life is already a reflection of this. And it's true and optimistic, just to bring it all back around. It is true and optimistic. And so I hope people embrace it. I know that some people don't because they have a value system where they're getting value out of being in a helpless position. And that's heartbreaking because it doesn't feel good. At least it didn't when I was there.
I'm trying to think of the rebuttals. Because I agree that having a bias to optimism and personal responsibility has solved all of
Can I give you the rebuttal?
Please.
So the rebuttal is that societal energy and momentum really, really matter. And that we are the shout and the echo. So even though if you feel like you are a victim and that life is out of your control and it's stacked against you and there's nothing you can do, when you are the recipient of legitimate injustice, the world is going to rally to your side and be like, yo, you've been wronged. We celebrate you. We love you. We elevate you. Like, this is just so crazy. It should never happen to you. That will feel awesome. And so you've been embraced. And there is a lot of cultural momentum around that. Now, the problem is that when you're by yourself, thinking about yourself, you feel disempowered and it does not feel good. And you're in a very dark place, which is a big reason why I think right now that people are, I mean, suicide is like, depending on the age group, it's like the #1 leading cause of death of like teenage boys. I mean, that's nuts. So clearly something going on. So I don't think people will feel good about themselves when they're by themselves if they adopt that value system. But they are getting huge emotional rewards from the crowd. Now, the crowd can't save them again when they're by themselves. But to deny that to be embraced for something like that feels good would be foolish, because it really does feel good. And I spent time there feeling sorry for myself for a long time. And when somebody's like, wow, that really does suck, I was like, yeah, man, that feels good to be acknowledged. And so I get it. And I want to acknowledge it too. Like, it really is. When people have the deck stacked against them, that really sucks. That really sucks. And there are, I mean, look, I've spent enough time in the inner cities. There are people with the deck stacked way hard against them. But my thing is, you can actually get out. And how about this? You can make your life 100 times better. No matter how bad it is, you can make it 100 times better. And that joy, seeing people do that, is everything. It's everything for them. It's everything for me as somebody who just likes to see people win. And I don't see that same 100x improvement on people that embrace a different value system. But it's real, and there's a lot of momentum.
Is that unwillingness to accept that idea also somewhat linked to people's own self-esteem? Because when we admit personal responsibility, for some people, especially those that have a lower sort of sense of self-worth, maybe, they see that as evidence of further evidence of their own inadequacy.
I'm going to bend it more to identity. So you build your identity, and I have the deck stacked against me for whatever reason. And when that becomes your identity and you value yourself for that, like, I have the deck stacked against me and I stand strong in the face of this, and I can deal with these slings and arrows, or I fight back against them. And so I become like, I'm really on a mission to fight against this. And all of that becomes your identity. So now you have to give up personal responsibility to embrace that and to fight for it. But you get that, right? You get the tribe, you get the other people in that community that feel the same. But what you've given up is really being able to change and to acquire skills and to become capable of more. And so my obsession is getting people to understand skills have utility. Now, if skills have utility and they let you do something better than other people, you can do things that other people can't do. That's A, monetizable. B, there's something hardwired in all of us to work hard to gain skills that allow us to serve the group, right? As a social animal, you have an imperative buried in your brain. There is no way to escape it, to contribute to the group. So if you embrace personal responsibility, you're going to get all these other kinds of rewards, because you'll be able to accumulate skill set. You will be able to dunk, and people will not be able to stop you, right? Like, that becomes the reality that you live in. It's super intoxicating, because going back to this idea of why it matters to make sure that you have a narrative that is true. Because when it's true, your predictive machine of a brain can actually predict how to change the world to what you want it to be, which I will define power as the ability to close your eyes, imagine a world better than this, open your eyes, gain the skills you need to make that world come true. That's power. And to get that power, you have to acquire skills. To acquire skills, you have to take responsibility. To take responsibility, you have to reject being in the victim category.
Rule number 3 is use spiritual practices to heal with Gabby Bernstein.
Why is healing so important for everyone at all times to be on that journey? And how do we heal trauma, when it's invisible?
All right, going in with the big stuff. So, and it's all big stuff here.
Yeah.
And we're ready to go there. You and I have been talking about our own traumatic experiences. And in fact, I want to acknowledge that the first time I really spoke publicly about remembering my own childhood trauma was with you.
Yeah.
Because you made me feel safe enough to do it. Yeah. Where do I begin? So we run from these impermissible feelings from our past. Mm-hmm. These are emotional disturbances from our childhood, traumatic events, trauma with a big T, trauma with a small t. A big T trauma is being sexually abused as a child, having some kind of violence, living through a catastrophic event, growing up in an alcoholic home. A small T trauma is being bullied. Yeah. Small T trauma is being told you're stupid by a teacher. Mm-hmm. Small T trauma could be living and surviving COVID. Mm-hmm. We've all lived through trauma. way before COVID. It's just now more present for us. But the traumatic events from our past are the ones that are so impermissible because inside those experiences, particularly childhood developmental experiences, is the shame, the impermissible rage, the feelings of inadequacy and feelings of being unlovable. And so we build up all these different protection mechanisms around us to avoid ever having to face those impermissible wounds. And those protections could be achievement. They could look good on the outside. That's the scary thing, right? So workaholism can be really praised at times. It can look like alcoholism. It can look like drug addiction. And we just create all these forms of protection around ourselves to never have to go there. But what's happened recently is in COVID and when we've been struck with feelings of not being safe, feelings of being out of control, a lot of our typical coping mechanisms won't work anymore.
What are typical coping mechanisms for most people?
Typical coping mechanisms: heading to the fridge, overeating, overworking, not working, like numbing out, vegging out, the sofa, a coping mechanism. And I refer to coping mechanisms as protector parts. I am now trained in internal family systems therapy. And so in IFS, we talk about these protectors. And what are they protecting us from? Those exiled child parts, those impermissible parts that we don't want to ever touch, don't want to go into.
Protectors are the coping mechanisms. The addictive or non-healthy coping mechanisms.
Correct.
Let me hear you say.
Yeah.
Those are called protectors.
Totally.
The
Exactly.
things that we don't want to go and face. The pain, the
and
shame,
sometimes we don't even know that they're a problem.
Right.
Like a workaholic may not yet know that that's a problem for them, or codependency. So they're constantly protecting themselves by finding relationship. Or for me, there was the controller. You were in studio with the controller many times, and you also even went as far as to like almost pick up on that at early in our relationship, where you're like, it could be a little easier. You noticed it for me. And and I have one that's called Knives Out. She's not out anymore, but she was like this, like, like if you with me, you with death row, like I am done.
So were those your two main coping mechanisms, I guess?
Well, there was my 25-year-old cocaine addict. And then there was another interesting protector part is even spirituality at times, because while it's a beautiful practice to be on a spiritual quest, and it's what I've been writing about for over a decade, we can at times use our spiritual practice to get above the pain. And so
give me an example.
You're newly sober and you're like in every meditation class and you're doing, your Kundalini yoga, and you're getting high on your own supply, right?
Yes.
Which is excellent. It's much better than drinking. And it's a beautiful pursuit, but it's also another form of protecting what is deeper. And frankly, that spiritual bypassing, as we would call it, is actually a tremendous gift at times because it's too painful to go to those places.
Yes.
So if spirituality is what you've got, that's way better than the drugs and the alcohol, right?
But you're still masking.
But it's still another way of masking. It's still another way of getting above what is so uncomfortable to face below.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 4 is live an intense and profound life with Sadhguru.
Sadhguruji, my question is,
I'm done hating myself for feeling. I'm done crying myself away. I gotta leave and start the healing. But when you move like that, I just wanna stay. What have I become? I'm looking through your phone now, oh now. Love to you is just a game. Look what I have done. I'm dialing up the numbers, oh yeah. I don't want my heart to break, baby. How do you sleep when you lie to me? All that shame and all that danger. I'm hoping that my love will keep you up tonight, baby. How do you sleep when you lie to me? All that fear and all that pressure. I'm hoping that my love will keep you up tonight. Tell me, how do you? Love will keep you up tonight. Tell me, how do you? Oh no, how did I manage to lose me? I am not this desperate, not this crazy. There's no way I'm sticking around to find out. I won't lose like that, I won't lose myself. Look what I have done, dialing up the numbers, oh yeah. I don't want my heart to break, baby. How do you sleep when you lie to me? All that shame and all that danger. I'm hoping that my love will keep you up tonight, baby. How do you sleep when you lie to me? All that fear and all that pressure. I'm hoping that my love will keep you up tonight. Tell me, how do you? Love will keep you up tonight. Tell me, how do you? Oh, love will keep you up tonight, baby. How do you sleep when you lie to me? All that shame and all that danger. I'm hoping that my love will keep you up tonight, baby. How do you sleep when you lie to me? All that fear and all that pressure. I'm hoping that my love will keep you up tonight. Tell me, how do you?
Ball is a Liverpool shout. Salah just gets on with the game, and Salah wriggles through. And Salah has scored for Liverpool in injury time. An unbelievable ending at Anfield.
Boa bola para o Edilson, chega muito bem o time do.
Good morning, guys. All right, I want to share a funny story with you today. This made me laugh when I saw it. This is from Evan Carmichael. You guys know I'm a big fan. He's a mentor for me. And when I went to his last filming session, he showed myself and another young lady that was there his painted nails as a way of showing. And those of you that follow him will know the story anyhow. But he's got these painted nails right now, and it's not something he felt comfortable doing, but he did it anyway. And he was trying to prove to himself and to everyone, help everyone understand, you got to get out of your comfort zone. But when I first saw it firsthand, and he showed me, and I looked at it, I thought, wow, that looks funny. But then I was laughing because I thought, good for him, and amazing in terms of the inspiration for me. Once we get uncomfortable, actually we can have a lot of fun with it because we can laugh about it. So, that's one of the big things for us to grow and be on this path of infinite mind wealth. Have a great day, everybody.
Finding your purpose is easy. Finding your purpose, finding your passion, finding what you're meant to do is easy. And I will beat this drum until everybody figures it out, because it's one of the most common questions that I keep getting asked. We're not taught this in school. The people that we're learning from are not people who are living their purpose either. Your purpose, it comes from your pain. That's a simple answer. Whatever you struggled with, whenever you felt the lowest as a human, whenever you felt the most worthless, the most like you didn't belong, that moment, that's your purpose, to help other people who are currently going through that. For optimistic, happy, ambitious people, we usually don't like looking backwards into the pain. If you're the kind of person watching these videos, you're probably the kind of person who's pouring into others, who's loving others, who's optimistic, who's trying to not think about the rain that's happening today, right? Not focusing on the rain, but focusing on the opportunities and the sunshine to come, right? That's probably you. Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I struggled to believe in myself. I quit on my business partner. And the thing that saved me was watching the successful stories of entrepreneurs. They gave me the inspiration to keep going, as well as the strategies of what to do. And quite honestly, I still need their stories and motivation today as well. So today, let's learn from me and my team's take on my top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. So the point is not to sit in the previous pain. The point is to use that as leverage for yourself to jump into the next level of life for you. A more meaningful, a more purposeful, a more intentional life. Whatever you struggled with the most, there are millions of people right now who are struggling with the same thing. They're struggling with the exact same thing as you did. And they need your help. They need your guidance, they need your wisdom, they need your story, they need your hope, they need your light, they need your love, they need your energy, they need you to show up. That's your purpose. And that will never get old. That will never get old. That will never get old. Every time you see somebody who is a younger version of you, and you can have a conversation with them, and you can see the hope light up in their eyes, that now they feel like something is possible because they met you. That's a feeling that will never get old. I'll be, 200 years old, sitting in an old age home, still trying to help people believe in themselves more, because that's what I struggled with the most. I am still making content. I am still speaking and writing books and creating videos and doing podcasts and shows, and everything I do is because I'm trying to help 19-year-old Evan. 19-year-old Evan who turned down his dream job to start a business, to make $300 a month, to have no self-belief, to feel like I made the biggest decision, the worst decision of my life. Felt like I made the worst decision of my life. Instead of taking that dream job to do this business, it was hooray, euphoria for a couple weeks, and then realized, oh my gosh, this is a lot harder than I thought, and I'm not making any money. Did I make a big mistake? All my friends were making tons of money at those investment banking jobs that I could have had, and I felt lost, and I felt hopeless, and I felt like I made a big mistake. And I was working like crazy, and I was too embarrassed and too ashamed to ask people for help, to let people in, and I didn't believe in myself at all. That's who I love helping. I love helping humans. I want to help humans believe in themselves, but the softest spot in my heart is for entrepreneurs who are trying to get their thing off the ground, because I remember how hard it was for me to get my thing off the ground. And I quit. There was one day that I actually quit on my business partner. And thankfully I went back the next day. Thankfully I didn't fully quit all the way, because I would have regret that. And I think a lot of people do. You end up quitting too soon on your dreams. And so that's who I'm trying to help. With all my content, with all my work, with everything I do, with 12,000 plus videos later, I'm still doing it. People ask me, how do you stay so consistent? How have you made videos for 12 years and have not burnt out? Well, because I love what I'm doing, because I feel like it matters. I don't love the idea of just sitting here in the parking lot of a Costco making a video, but I love the idea that this is talking to you, that, hello, I'm a part of your routine. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And so you can have that too. Whatever you struggled with, There are millions of people who are struggling with that right now. And they don't know who to go to. They won't listen to Evan Carmichael because I haven't struggled with the thing that you struggled with. But they'll listen to you because you've been through it. The next part becomes, well, who am I? Who am I to have this mission? Who am I to help these people? I'm still trying to figure it out myself. Do you resonate with that? It's like, who am I to be this person to help people? I still don't have all the answers myself. And imposter syndrome starts to creep in, right? You ever felt that? There's so many better people out there than you, and you're an imposter for even trying. So the way to combat imposter syndrome is two ways, and leverage both. I've leveraged both and still leverage both because I still feel at times that I'm not good enough and there are better people than me. And so here's the two things that I use. Number one, you see your growth as a staircase. Your growth is a staircase. And you want to climb forever. You don't want to ever stop growing. You don't want to ever stop learning. As soon as you feel like you've stopped learning and stopped growing, you start to really hate your life. You always want to feel like you're growing and learning somewhere. So look at your growth as a staircase. And when you're doing imposter syndrome, what you're doing is looking at the people who are ahead of you on the staircase and saying, oh my gosh, look at that person. They're so much further ahead of me. I suck. Why can't I be like them? Why can't I be like Elon Musk or Oprah Winfrey or Tony Robbins or whoever your heroes are that you look up to and respect and feel like they're so far ahead of you? And because you're not where they are means in your own head, you can't do anything. You can't share your message. You're not worthy enough, right? Well, what you need to recognize is you're still on your staircase as well, but you're not at step 0. If Oprah and Elon Musk are at step 8,000, maybe you're at step 100. Great. But you're not at step 0. You've come a long way. You look back. Instead of only looking forward to see everything that you haven't done yet, look back to see where you've come from. Like, oh my gosh, you know what? I'm at step 100. It's nowhere close to where I want to be. I haven't figured it all out, but I've learned so much more compared to who I used to be. Then understand that most people who are struggling with the thing that you struggled with, they're still at step 0. And you're at step 100. You can help them. You can't help them get to 8,000 level, but you can help them get to step 100 because that's where you're at. Most of the people who are struggling right now are at step 0. And they need a little bit of help, and they need someone to believe in them enough to help carry them to step 1 and step 2 and step 3. It's your job to give them that hope and to give them that momentum. And you can. And the way I like to think about it is every time I take another step up on my journey, you reach back and you help somebody else out who's behind you. Help other people climb on and rise on their journey, because learning alone isn't enough. We want to feel like what we do matters. We want to feel like we're having an impact. That's where purpose comes from. We all want to wake up every day and feel like the work that we do is going to matter to somebody. You want to feel like today's important. I want to feel like today's important. What I tell myself, at least, is that people are going to watch this video and somebody's going to get inspired enough to take some kind of action. For somebody watching this video will be the one that actually pushes you over the edge into action mode. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I hope. It's what I tell myself. And that's how I get the meaning behind doing the work, because I'm just sitting in my car in a Costco parking lot with my dog here, making a video, talking to my phone. But we want to feel like what we do matters. So every time you take a step up on that staircase, it's great to have people who are ahead of us that we learn from and look up to. But every time we take a step up, we pull somebody else up with us. And most people who are struggling are still way, way, way behind you. So you don't have to have all the answers, but you have enough answers to help the people who are at the start. So that's one. If you're struggling with imposter syndrome, we found our purpose. It's to help people who are currently who we used to be, what we used to struggle with. We're trying to figure out imposter syndrome. Step number 1 is a staircase of growth. Step number 2 is imagining you sitting with yourself from 10 years ago. Think about who you used to be 10 years ago, 5 years ago. You've grown a lot. If you're watching this channel, you're subscribed here, you're into personal development, you don't want to stay stuck. You have grown a lot. You have. if not from my content, from other videos, from other books, from other podcasts. You've grown a lot. Like, hey, high five, congrats, that's amazing. So imagine you're going to sit down on the park bench with the you from 5 or 10 years ago. And you've got 5 minutes with that person. You got 5 minutes with former you. Do you think you could share something with them that might inspire them? Do you think you could share something with them that might give them hope or some momentum or a little bit of motivation? Think about what message you might share. And when I've done this with live audiences, they'll say things like, it's going to work out. You're going to be okay. Believe in yourself. You'll get through this. You're stronger than you think. You know, as I ask live audiences, these are the things that they say on the microphone or pop in the chat. And everybody, all of these people who at the beginning couldn't find their purpose and struggled with imposter syndrome, now all of a sudden have absolute clarity and certainty with the message they would tell their younger self. Okay, great. So if you are convinced that you can help younger you, just recognize that there are millions of people who are younger you. If you can help the you from 5 years ago, from 10 years ago, that's what most of the people are struggling with right now. And that becomes your message. Your purpose comes from your pain. You don't need to spend years on a mountain figuring it out. You don't have to spend journals upon journals upon journals. You don't need to hire an expensive coach to help you through this. Your purpose comes from your pain. Whatever you struggled with is the thing you want to help other people through, period. And it will be with you for the rest of your life. And when you can spend the time to figure that out and then do the exercises to overcome that imposter syndrome that will come as your next step, it unlocks everything. It unlocks gratitude, it unlocks purpose, it unlocks happiness, it unlocks fulfillment. Because what it does is give you this well of energy to then go off and do the scary, difficult things, to finally get out of the way of your mind holding you back, telling you that little voice telling you can't do things, because it's no longer just about you, it's about helping other people. And every time you can shift it from being about you to helping others, it gives you that extra little bit of courage to go off and do the thing. Because you're built to serve, because you want to help, because you got a big mission inside you. And the only difference between where you are now and where you will be in a year is how much momentum and how much belief you create in yourself to make that vision a reality. Rule number 2 is just get started. Just
on our breathing. Back straight, eyes closed, legs crossed. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Feel that power that you're using to control your breathing. Your connection to oneness, to what we all really are, to the truth. The ultimate truth. That you were born to win control over your mind. That when we all do that, find out the truth of who we all really are. Infinitely intelligent beings, powerful beyond measure. The power of all knowing right here, right now, this moment. You're already made of all knowing of the universe. You're made of that same stuff. With that, you can always have and be your true, peaceful, happy, kind, loving self. No matter what. As you reflect back on your effort today, always remember that if you gave your best in whatever you were doing, that you can do it now, and you can do it forever. That's what makes you a winner. Willing to be happy and peaceful, to be mind healthy and wealthy, always. No matter what's going on outside your mind, no matter what anybody or anything suggests about you, any negativity, that's all a lie. It's all losses. Losses that we, as determination, we get to transform to win, to truth, to accuracy of who we really are. That's why